There is a vast difference between hoping for healing and assuming healing. One waits in the shadows, the other walks in the light. Most people remain stuck in the outer world of appearances, allowing test results, diagnoses, and physical sensations to dictate their belief system. But there exists another way, a sacred art that few dare to try, and even fewer persist in long enough to prove. It is the act of mentally moving into the condition you desire with such faith and vividness that your world begins to reassemble itself around that new reality. This is not positive thinking. It is not optimism. It is the law of consciousness. To live in the end of a desire fulfilled is to understand that your imagination is the first cause of all manifestation. The body you now have, the symptoms you feel, and the conditions that surround you are not permanent realities. They are outcomes of former states of mind, previous assumptions sustained over time. The body does not lead, it follows. The body is clay, and consciousness is the potter. If you see yourself as broken, your body will reflect that vision. If you see yourself as whole, even in contradiction to what your senses report, the body will begin to conform. This is not a theory, it is a law. The inner state always precedes the outer result. There can be no healing without first assuming the position of one who is healed. The mistake many make is waiting for evidence before they shift their belief. But reality does not work backward. It begins in imagination and expresses through form. To assume you are healed while still in pain may seem like madness to the intellect. But to the higher mind, it is the most natural act in the world. You are not called to explain how it will happen. You are only asked to assume that it already has. So what does it mean to act as if you're already healed? It means that regardless of symptoms or reports, you inwardly adopt the tone, posture, and emotions of one who has already crossed over into health. You walk into a room not as a sick person trying to get better, but as one who is well, radiant, and full of life. Your imagination becomes the lens through which you reinterpret every experience. Pain becomes a fading echo. Limitation becomes a temporary illusion. Inwardly, you are unmoved. To act is not to perform for others. It is to take on the role inwardly, persistently, until it becomes your dominant state. You may not be able to jog or dance today, but you can imagine it so vividly that the body must eventually yield. Every time you replay the movie of your healing in your mind and feel the emotions it would produce, you are planting a seed. And just as no seed brings forth fruit overnight, so too your persistent assumption will unfold in time. The subconscious does not distinguish between reality and imagination. It accepts whatever is impressed upon it with feeling and faith. If you say, "I am healed," while emotionally clinging to the identity of one who is still ill, the subconscious is not fooled. It responds only to the dominant emotional state. Therefore, you must not speak hollow words, but live inwardly in the emotional truth of your desire fulfilled. Imagine what it would feel like to stretch your arms without pain, to breathe deeply without strain, to receive news of perfect health. Feel that now, in this moment. Feel it often. That inner state is your blueprint. Your body has no choice but to follow. Many will ask, but isn't this delusion? No, it is creation. Delusion is denying what is and doing nothing. Creation is assuming what shall be and living from it until it appears. Every great change in life begins with an invisible shift. The healed version of you already exists in consciousness. You are not creating something from scratch. You are selecting a higher version of self and occupying it. Your only task is to remain faithful to that selection, no matter how loud the current facts shout. Even science concedes that the body is in constant renewal. Cells regenerate. Bones restructure. The skin you see today is not the same skin you had a month ago. So who is directing this renewal? It is not chance, it is consciousness. Your beliefs write the instructions. So why not write something new? Why not assume that healing is complete? that you are simply waiting for your senses to catch up with what is already true within. Begin now, not tomorrow, not after another diagnosis. This very second, take a deep breath and assume that your body is responding. Walk across the room if you can with the attitude of one who has already overcome. If you are confined to a chair, then let your inner posture become one of power and joy. If you must lie still, let your mind move freely. Visit a future memory where health is natural, effortless, and familiar. Well, then, as you persist in this state, something begins to shift. You will notice the body softening, symptoms lessening, a feeling of peace replacing anxiety. This is not coincidence. This is law in motion. Every act of inward assumption sets a cause into play. Do not concern yourself with speed. Concern yourself only with depth. How deeply you can feel the new state, how sincerely you can believe in the unseen, how long you can dwell in the end before doubt distracts you. You are not asking for healing. You are claiming that it is done. And that difference makes all the difference. The healed you is not a hope. It is a fact in consciousness. Your only job is to make it your dwelling place. When you make health your habitual state of thought, the world will reshape itself to match. You must release the identity of sickness if you ever wish to experience the reality of health. The world has conditioned you to cling to labels, diagnoses, and conditions as if they are part of your name. You say, my illness, my condition, my diagnosis, as though these things belong to you, as if they are part of who you are. But nothing could be further from the truth. You are not your symptom. You are not your medical history. You are consciousness, pure, limitless awareness. And what you consistently assume about yourself is what you ultimately express in the outer world. To reject sickness does not mean to pretend symptoms do not exist. It means that you no longer allow those symptoms to define your state of being. You refuse to give them authority. You see them, perhaps even feel them, but inwardly you deny them the power to decide your identity. This is the essence of spiritual transformation. You are not called to deny pain, but to deny its permanence. What you refuse to feed with attention will wither. What you repeatedly identify with will flourish. Your job then is not to resist sickness, but to rise above it by assuming the only state that can dissolve it, health. Every time you speak of your conditions, every time you complain, report, or dwell on what is wrong, you are watering the weeds. You are telling your subconscious mind to recreate that same experience. It hears only your dominant belief, not your hopes, not your wishes, but your assumptions. If you say, I am sick, it will ensure that your body reflects sickness. If you say, I am healing, but feel discouraged and defeated. But if you boldly claim, I am whole, and feel the truth of that statement, even faintly, the inner movement begins. There is no transformation without inner substitution. You must give up one state to enter another. To become healthy, you must stop rehearsing the story of illness. You cannot live in both states at once. You cannot be healed and talk sickness. You cannot walk as whole and think as broken. So choose. Choose the self you want to be, and once chosen, remain loyal to it, even in the face of contradiction. When you act as the healed, your posture changes. Your tone of voice shifts. You carry yourself differently, and even if the body does not yet respond, the seed is planted. That seed, watered daily by assumption, will grow into full expression. The body has no resistance to health. It is not your enemy. It is your mirror. Treat it with love, and it will reflect that love. But it can only reflect what you show it consistently. Let this become your new language. When asked how you are, do not say, I am trying to get better. Say instead, I am well. Say it not as performance, but as declaration. Speak not to convince others, but to instruct your own subconscious mind. Speak with calm authority, not desperate hope. The body listens most deeply when the mind speaks with confidence. Your inner conversations matter more than anything. What are you telling yourself when no one is around? Are you rehearsing old fears, expecting more pain, anticipating the worst? Or are you quietly affirming the truth of your transformation? The most powerful rituals are performed in the silence of your own thoughts. That is the altar. That is where the sacrifice is made. When you lay down the old self and take up the new, and you do it not once, but repeatedly, until the new self becomes natural. You must be bold. The world will try to remind you of your condition. People may speak of your illness, ask about your progress, express concern. Do not let their fears become your truth. You are not obligated to explain your faith. You are not bound to justify your assumption. You are only required to persist. And persistence means ignoring evidence that contradicts your vision. It means keeping your mind fixed on health even when the body aches, even when the mirror tells another story. You do not flinch. You do not waver. You return again and again to the state of being well. Let your imagination become your sanctuary. When the world around you speaks of sickness, retreat inward and paint a different picture. See yourself walking with strength, laughing with ease, breathing freely. Do not make it a wish. Make it an experience. Embody it. Let your senses feast on the vision. Hear the sound of your own laughter. Feel the cool air fill your lungs. Smell the Christmas of morning. Live in that world. That world, held long enough, will eclipse the old one. And when doubt arises, and it will, you must not argue with it. Simply return to the feeling. Do not battle fear with force. Overwhelm it with presence. Drown it in the certainty of your new self. The more you visit the state of health, the more real it becomes. Eventually, it becomes your dwelling place. And once that happens, the outer world must bend to match it. You are not healing yourself, you are revealing the self that is already whole. You are not building something from scratch, you are uncovering what was hidden beneath layers of assumption. Health is not a destination, it is a state of consciousness. And that state is available to you now if you would only dare to claim it. Words are not merely sounds we throw into the air. They are carriers of consciousness, seeds of reality. Every word spoken, whether aloud or in silence, is a decree issued to the subconscious mind, and that mind, impartial and precise, brings it forth into form. When a person continually talks about illness, revisits the story of what went wrong, rehearses medical labels, and clings to what others have diagnosed, they are unknowingly instructing the body to maintain the state they claim to reject. They may pray for healing, but their inner conversation contradicts that prayer. They may hope for change, yet continue to water the roots of what already is, by repeating the language of what they do not want. To act as if you are already healed is not just a matter of walking differently or pretending for show. It is first and foremost a change in the way you speak. When you speak from the end, you express only what aligns with your desired state. If health is your aim, then health must become the only language you understand. Even when no one else hears you, the subconscious hears everything. And it does not forget. You may not remember every fearful phrase or doubtful thought you repeated in passing, but the subconscious remembers all of it and reproduces the world accordingly. You must therefore become hyper-aware of your inner speech. Listen closely to yourself when you are alone. Do you say, "This always happens to me," "I'll never be the same," "I'm afraid I'll get worse," or even more subtle phrases like, "I hope this works," or "I'm trying"? These may appear harmless on the surface, but each carries with it a vibration of doubt, of separation from the state of healing. The language of someone who is well is very different. They say, "I feel strong. My body responds beautifully. Life flows through me with ease. And most importantly, I am whole." Not someday, not when the test results come back clear, but now. This is not delusion. This is creation. The body is not tricked, it is instructed. When the mind feeds it a new image through consistent language, it adjusts itself in accordance with that command. You may not see the shift immediately, but the new pattern has been activated, and as you persist, it strengthens. The subconscious, once reprogrammed by your assumption, begins to direct every cell, every function, every system of the body to align with the new belief. What was once a description of the body's state now becomes its blueprint. When you catch yourself using the language of sickness, pause. Do not scold yourself, but gently shift. Replace the phrase with one that belongs to the state of wellness, and repeat it, not mindlessly, but with feeling. Speak it until it begins to feel natural. Speak it until your body begins to respond with calm. Speak it until your emotions obey. This is not an act of performance. It is a shift in identity. Remember that everything you say, you are saying to yourself. When you declare, "I am tired," your body becomes heavier. When you say, "I never feel good," your subconscious reinforces that impression. But when you say, "I am recovering beautifully," or "every cell in my body is listening to my command," you begin to feel your posture shift, your breath deepen, your spirit rise. This is not imagination in the childish sense, it is imagination in its most sacred and creative form. If you are already healed, how would you speak? What words would you no longer use? What complaints would disappear from your vocabulary? Begin to filter your language through the lens of that healed version of yourself. Do not allow yourself to speak anything that the healthy you would not say. Do not speak of pain, setbacks, or fear. Speak of movement, grace, energy, and peace. The moment you catch a sentence that doesn't belong, correct it inwardly. Replace it with truth. You may feel resistance at first, that is natural, but persistence will override resistance, and soon your default speech will reflect the new identity. Be careful also of what you accept from others. Well-meaning people may ask you how you're feeling, may reference your condition, may offer their sympathy. You need not argue with them. Simply don't join them in the language of illness. Redirect the conversation, even silently. Inwardly say, "That no longer applies to me. I am something new." You owe no one the maintenance of an old identity. Your only responsibility is to the self you are becoming. Do not underestimate the power of repetition. The body listens to what is repeated with emotion. You may feel foolish affirming health when symptoms persist, but do it anyway. Speak it with conviction. Whisper it before sleep. Declare it upon waking. Let the words you choose become the walls of the new house you live in, and as you stay within that house long enough, the old house falls away. The old self, weak, afraid, conditioned by the past, dissolves, and the new self, whole, vibrant, unshaken, emerges. Let every sentence be a thread in the tapestry of your transformation. Speak with the authority of one who knows, not one who wishes. For what you speak, you believe, and what you believe, you become. The words of the healed must become your native tongue. Even in silence, let your thoughts echo with the truth of your chosen state. For what is spoken consistently in private will soon become the testimony of your public life. To live in the state of the healed is to embody the unseen reality with such certainty that the outer world is forced to comply. It is not merely thinking about being well. It is moving, behaving, and responding to life from the conviction that wellness is your natural condition. When one enters this state, the body becomes a willing servant to the inner image, reshaping and renewing itself in harmony with the self-concept that is consistently assumed. This is not wishful thinking. It is spiritual law in operation. Every motion of the body, every subtle gesture, every breath is part of the language that speaks to the subconscious mind. You must ask yourself, how would I move if I were already free from this condition? Not tomorrow, not when the results change, but now. And then you must begin to adopt those movements in quiet faith. It may begin with something small, a straightening of the back, a deeper breath, a smile that rises not from circumstance, but from the assumption that all is well. These gestures, when repeated with feeling, send powerful signals to the subconscious, revealing the inner state you now choose to dwell in. The most potent transformation occurs not through dramatic declarations, but through the gentle, repeated action of embodying the desired identity. When you walk across the room, do so with the energy of one who is whole. When you stand, let your posture reflect confidence and freedom. Even if the body protests at first, let your intention be louder than the discomfort. This is not about ignoring pain, it is about speaking a new message through your body until the old message fades. Consider for a moment how someone truly healthy behaves. They are not absorbed in symptoms. They do not question each breath or step. There is a calm ease in their presence, a lightness in their movement. And this is the image you must hold. And more than hold, you must wear it. You must become so intimately acquainted with that identity that it no longer feels foreign, but familiar, even inevitable. Do not wait for the mirror to reflect this change. The mirror cannot change unless you do first. The body, the world, the circumstances, all of these are mirrors. They do not lead, they follow. And what they follow is your state of consciousness. The healed self already exists within you. It is not something you must invent. It is a state you must accept and enter. Once accepted, once you make it your dwelling place, it begins to radiate outward. Others may notice the shift before your symptoms vanish. They may say you look different, lighter, more at ease. That is the sign that the inner change has taken root. Movement is sacred, it is creative, it is not random. Every act of reaching, standing, walking, even breathing is an opportunity to express a deeper belief. When you begin to move with the grace of the healed, your entire system begins to reorient. Muscles relax, tension dissolves, the nervous system receives a new instruction. We are safe, we are whole, we are strong. This is not fantasy, it is law. What you impress upon the subconscious through repetition becomes fact in the body. There is no benefit in rehearsing limitation. If your movements are slow, let them be filled with intention, not fear. If your range is limited, let each gesture be accompanied by the internal declaration, I am free. Do not mark your progress by how far you've come in physical terms, but by how deeply you have committed to the inner identity of the healed. That is your true measure. All else will follow. Let this become your quiet practice. When you are alone, stand before a mirror and imagine you are already restored. Let your face reflect that inner knowing. Let your eyes shine with that quiet confidence. Speak not as someone trying to convince themselves, but as one who has seen the end and accepted it. If tears come, let them come. But let them be tears of release, not sorrow. For the old identity is dissolving and something new is taking its place. Even in stillness, you can express this transformation. Sitting quietly, breathing slowly, feeling the rhythm of life moving through you, this too is part of the act. Imagine the sensation of freedom, the joy of effortless movement, the ease of living without tension or fatigue. You are not merely imagining for escape. You are invoking a reality that already exists in potential. And as you live in that potential long enough, it becomes your new foundation. You will find that the more consistently you act from this new state, the more the old one loses its grip. The identity of illness is built through repetition, so is the identity of health. Do not be discouraged by lingering symptoms. See them as echoes of the past self. Your task is not to battle them, but to rise so fully into your new state that they are no longer relevant. The healed version of you does not focus on pain. It focuses on purpose, on presence, on gratitude for the gift of life. Let every ordinary action become extraordinary through intention. Washing your face, walking to the window, lying down to rest. Each can be an act of alignment. Let your movements match your vision. and let your vision remain anchored in the end you desire, not the process of getting there. You are not improving, you are returning to the truth. That truth has always been available, you simply had to choose it, and more importantly, live it. The body is not the originator of reality. It is the responder. It does not initiate experience, it reflects it. Whatever the conscious mind continues to accept as true is quietly and faithfully registered in the subconscious, and the body, without resistance, obeys the pattern that has been impressed. This is why a change in belief is not simply a mental adjustment. It is the creation of a new law for the body to follow. You do not command the body through force or effort. You lead it by assumption. And what you assume to be true in your imagination, with persistence and feeling, becomes the environment the body must adapt to. If the body appears weak, tired, or in pain, that is not a sentence, it is a signal. It is a message informing you of what has been consistently accepted in the inner world. And while the outer world may clamor for treatments, explanations, and diagnoses, the wise soul looks within and asks, what have I been believing about myself? For the body is merely carrying out the script given to it by the mind. If the script is one of decline, resistance, or helplessness, the body will deliver that experience without hesitation. But the moment you hand it a new script, one of vitality, strength, and healing, it begins to shift, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically. This is not to be interpreted as blame. It is freedom. For if the outer world, including the body, is nothing more than the outpicturing of inner assumption, then there is no need to wrestle with conditions. One must go directly to the cause, which is always internal. The law is this: the outer must conform to the inner. So when you act as though you are already healed, you are not playing pretend. You are reconditioning the body through assumption. You are impressing upon it a new template. And because it does not question, it simply follows. The most common mistake is waiting for the body to change before shifting the mind. People wait for a diagnosis to improve, for symptoms to disappear, for strength to return, and then they say they will believe. But belief is not a reaction, it is a command. You are not waiting on healing. Healing is waiting on you. The moment you cease to identify with the condition and begin to identify with the end result, wholeness, the body begins to follow that command. You may not see instant results. That is not the point. What matters is that the seed is planted and it will bring forth after its kind. The subconscious, which governs the body, accepts only what the conscious mind impresses upon it with faith. This is why casual thoughts do little, but sustained, emotionally charged thoughts change everything. If you say to yourself once or twice, I am well, while feeling nothing but doubt, the body does not receive a clear instruction. But if you dwell in that assumption, morning and night, while feeling the joy and peace of already being restored, the subconscious records that as law. And the body, which lives according to that law, must respond. You may wonder how the body knows what to do. You do not need to know. The intelligence that governs your heart, your breath, your digestion, your very life, it knows. It always knows. And it takes its orders from the mind that commands with certainty. When you act in the state of health, when you move and speak and rest from the end, not toward it, but from it, you are giving new instructions to the body, instructions that are not based on symptoms, but on truth. Every cell in your body is listening, not to what you say casually, but to what you say consistently, with emotion. When you declare silently within yourself, I am renewed, and you feel the calm authority of that truth, you begin to issue a new command. The cells receive it. The systems begin to reorganize. The body, sensing a change in command, begins to prepare itself for a new reality. This happens not through struggle, but through faith, not through work, but through persistence. Do not make the mistake of trying to force the body to conform. Do not fight the symptoms. Do not panic when old patterns appear to remain. The body is always catching up to the mind. It is a loyal follower, not a rebel. It obeys what it is given long enough to believe. So be consistent. When you look in the mirror, look not at the problem, but at the solution. When you feel discomfort, do not identify with it. Simply say, "This is old data. I no longer accept it." And immediately return to the assumption of being well. The body is not the enemy. It is the instrument of the mind. It is your most faithful servant. If it reflects something unwanted, it is not betraying you. It is proving how powerful your inner beliefs are. So bless it, love it, and give it a new message. Speak to it in silence. Thank it for its obedience, and feed it only what you want it to express. Just as an artist gives the canvas a new image, and the canvas reflects it without resistance, so too your body will begin to reflect the new inner vision you consistently hold. In time, the old conditions will fade, not because they were fought, but because they were no longer supported. The new condition will emerge, not because it was chased, but because it was assumed. And the body, which once seemed stubborn, will reveal itself to be nothing more than a mirror, showing faithfully what you dared to believe. There is great relief in knowing that you are not responsible for the mechanics of your healing. You do not have to arrange the cells, regulate the chemical balances, or supervise the function of organs. That work belongs to the deeper intelligence that animates you, and it never fails when instructed with clarity. The mind that assumes the state of being healed need not concern itself with how the healing will take place. The how belongs to the unseen law, the perfect order that lies beneath every expression of life. Your only task is to dwell in the end, to feel it as real, and to walk in the conviction that it is already done. This may sound strange to those trained by logic and the senses, for we live in a world that demands plans, steps, and visible paths. But the unseen world does not operate through visible cause and effect. It operates through assumption and faith. The assumption of the fulfilled desire becomes the cause. The bridge of incidents is the effect. You are not to dictate the bridge. You are not to script the unfolding. You are to abide in the state you wish to experience until it hardens into fact. When healing is your goal, you must not dwell on symptoms, procedures, or possible outcomes. You must claim the result inwardly and emotionally, not wishfully, but with authority. That inner assumption, faithfully maintained, draws to you all necessary means. It may appear as a conversation, a doctor's discovery, a treatment suddenly effective, or a spontaneous remission that no one can explain. But regardless of form, it is the result of the inner state being faithfully occupied over time. The deeper intelligence, which is always listening, does the arranging. When you try to force healing by effort, you interrupt the process. When you monitor your progress daily, wondering whether your assumption is working, you return to the old self, the one who doubts, who questions, who waits. But the new self, the healed self, does not check or hope or plead. It knows. And that knowing is the greatest power you possess. When you know that something is true inwardly, the outer world bends in obedience to man. The most important shift happens when you stop asking when and start affirming now. I am healed must become more than a phrase. It must become your atmosphere. You walk in it, breathe in it, live in it, even before the body responds. That is faith in its truest form. It does not beg, it accepts. It does not ask why things are the way they are. It creates what must be. And in this act of creation, all forces unseen and unknown to you begin to work. The bridge of incidents that leads to your healing may begin before you are even aware. You may have a sudden urge to rest more. A friend may suggest something in passing that opens a new door. A specialist may discover a solution that had never been considered. You may experience a spontaneous inner shift where symptoms dissolve. But none of this is your responsibility to orchestrate. What you must do is assume the position of the healed with such devotion that the world is forced to rearrange itself to match your vibration. When you focus on how it will happen, you are moving backward. The how is the language of the senses. The I am is the language of creation. There is no need to map the route. The route is created for you as you continue to inhabit the destination. You do not build the road to health. You live as one who has already arrived, and the road appears beneath your feet. This is not indifference. It is mastery. It is the quiet mastery of knowing that all things are drawn to the one who does not waver in vision. Even when the facts seem to oppose you, do not give them power. They are echoes of old beliefs, shadows that fade with time. Do not react. Remain firm. Each time doubt whispers, but nothing has changed. You respond inwardly. Everything has changed. The change has already happened within me, and it must unfold. You do not need a timeline. You need trust. You do not need a system. You need stillness. The moment you accept that you are already well, the universe begins to reflect that state back to you. Your job is not to persuade reality. It is to persist in the end you have chosen. That is the only work you are given. And it is more powerful than any treatment or remedy, for it sets the unseen forces of life into motion. Even your impulses will begin to shift. You may feel drawn to certain foods, routines, or places. You may suddenly feel inclined to let go of emotional burdens, and this too is healing. All of it is part of the movement set in motion by your assumption. And as you trust more deeply, you interfere less, allowing the deeper wisdom of life to carry out its perfect design. When the mind is still, the body becomes responsive. When the inner world is at peace, the outer world adjusts. You cannot fake this, you must become it. The calm of knowing must replace the desperation of hoping, and that knowing must not be something you reach for, but something you rest in. Rest in it like a soft bed. Let the tension dissolve. Let the questions die away, and simply be the one who is already free. From that stillness, everything flows. You will not need to ask again. You will not need to strive. The answer has already been given, and the outer world, in perfect timing, will echo what you dared to believe in silence. The final thoughts before sleep are the most powerful tools you possess. In that delicate state between waking and sleeping, the conscious mind begins to withdraw, and the subconscious becomes unguarded, open to receive impressions without resistance. What you impress upon it at that hour becomes the foundation of your reality. This is why the moment just before sleep must never be wasted on worry, regret, or mental rehearsals of illness. That sacred time is the doorway through which your assumption must pass if it is to become your lived experience. If healing is your desire, then you must fall asleep as one who is already healed, not as one who hopes to be healed, not as one who tries to believe, but as one who simply is well. This assumption, when taken into sleep, begins to filter through every level of your consciousness. It becomes the accepted state. And from that acceptance, the body, environment, and circumstances begin to shift. You do not need to force this. You do not need to strain. Your only task is to quietly, persistently imagine what it would feel like if you were already restored. This is not about visualizing details, although details may arise naturally. It is about entering the mood of the wish fulfilled until it feels like home. You are not constructing the outcome, you are occupying it. And in sleep, that occupation becomes deeply rooted. Many people sabotage their healing each night without knowing it. They review the symptoms of the day, fear tomorrow's discomfort, and analyze the progress of their condition. They fall asleep in the very state they are trying to escape. And the subconscious, ever faithful, accepts that state as truth and continues to project it outward. If you would change the outer, you must first master this inner ritual. You must bring the feeling of health so close to your heart that it becomes your last conscious impression before sleep. You may wonder how to do this when the body still aches, when the diagnosis still hangs over you, when the mirror shows what you wish to forget. The answer is simple but not always easy. You withdraw your attention from appearances and focus entirely on the end. You ignore the middle. You deny the delay. You live in the assumption that the change has already occurred. This is not denial of reality. It is the creation of a higher reality, one that begins where all true changes begin, in the unseen. To make this effective, you must learn to silence the mind. Do not bring to bed the arguments of the day. Do not replay conversations or research treatments into the night. Let all that go. Enter the stillness as a healed being would. Breathe slowly. Let your body rest in confidence. Feel the peace of a body that is functioning in perfect order. Perhaps you imagine yourself walking freely, laughing with joy, or waking up in the morning with energy and ease. Whatever the image, hold the feeling of it, not as something to reach, but as something you already are. Repetition is key. One night may feel beautiful but incomplete. Do not be discouraged. Each night, as you return to this practice, the assumption deepens. The subconscious does not respond to occasional efforts. It responds to consistent, emotionally charged impressions. When you repeat the feeling of wellness before sleep again and again, night after night, the body has no choice but to conform. This process is not merely spiritual, it is physiological. Sleep is the state in which the body repairs itself. The subconscious governs the systems of the body, and when it receives an instruction steeped in peace and healing, it goes to work, even as you lie in silence. You are not aware of how the heart beats or how the cells renew themselves, yet they do, perfectly and continuously, and when your mind aligns with that perfection, healing accelerates. There is no one watching over you with a clipboard deciding if you are worthy of healing. There is only law. What you assume and sustain becomes what you live. So make sleep your sacred workshop. Use it wisely. When you feel yourself drifting, let your thoughts rest in the reality of already being whole. Let no argument enter. Let no contradiction distract you. Become the healed in thought, and the body will follow. Some find it helpful to use a short phrase, a simple declaration to carry into sleep. Something like, I am well, I am whole, or it is done. These phrases are not affirmations to convince the mind. They are keys to open the door to a new state. Repeat them gently, rhythmically, and allow them to become part of your breath. Soon the body will begin to resonate with the truth of those words. If you wake in the night, return to the assumption. Do not let fear or discomfort claim your attention. Return inward to that same feeling of health. Let it cradle you until you sleep again. Every return is a reinforcement. You may not notice the change overnight. That is irrelevant. The seed has been planted, and once planted in the fertile soil of the subconscious, it must grow. You are not called to judge the speed of the unfolding. You are called to be faithful to the end you have chosen. Sleep each night in the comfort of the truth. You are already what you desire to be. Healing is not something that will happen. It is something that is happening now through the power of your sustained assumption. And as the nights pass and the state of wellness becomes more natural than the memory of illness, the outer world will reflect the inner change with perfect clarity. You must walk through life not as one who is becoming well, but as one who is already well. That shift in identity is not optional, it is foundational. Until you assume the identity of the healed, you are still entangled in the consciousness of the unwell. It is not about acting in the outer sense to impress others. It is about embodying a new reality so deeply that it becomes your invisible signature. You are not required to convince anyone else. You are not required to prove anything. Your only responsibility is to faithfully live in the state of being that you have chosen, regardless of appearances. Every day offers you 1,000 chances to either reaffirm the old self or claim the new one. And with every choice, every reaction, every word, every thought, you are telling your world who you are. The world is not judging you, it is responding to you. When you claim the identity of one who is already whole, your posture changes, your tone changes, your decisions change, even your presence. You begin to move differently, not because you're pretending, but because you're finally aligned with the deeper truth of who you are. You do not become healed by waiting. You become healed by identifying with the healed version of yourself so completely that the old self has no place left to return to. This means you must no longer relate to life from the standpoint of limitation. Stop telling the stories of how things used to be. Stop anticipating the continuation of struggle. Stop expecting setbacks. Begin instead to interpret life through the eyes of the healed. What would you do today if you were already well? How would you dress? How would you speak to others? How would you carry yourself in the moments when no one is watching? This is not performance. This is transformation. Transformation happens not in flashes of inspiration, but in the quiet, repetitive decisions that accumulate day by day. You may think you're simply choosing a thought, or dismissing a complaint, or adjusting your inner dialogue, but in doing so, you are chiseling away the old identity and revealing the self that already exists beneath it. You are not creating something new, you are uncovering what was always there. Let your days be lived from that premise. Let every step you take be infused with the quiet assurance that you are what you desire to be. And when contradiction appears, and it will, you do not react in fear, you do not retreat. You reaffirm. You remember that circumstances are always trailing behind consciousness. They do not lead, they follow. So if something arises that seems to challenge your new identity, do not let it shake you. Let it confirm that your world is catching up to the new state you are now sustaining. The healed version of you has no need to justify or prove anything. That self simply lives in truth, without struggle or performance. You don't need to speak loudly about your healing. The energy of it will speak through your calm. You don't need to argue with those who still see you through the eyes of the past. Their vision will change when yours is unshakable. You don't even need the symptoms to vanish before you celebrate. Celebration is not the effect, it is the cause. And when you live in that cause long enough, the world cannot help but reflect it. Let each interaction become an opportunity to express the new identity. When someone asks you how you're feeling, use the question as a mirror, not to report symptoms, but to reinforce truth. You don't need to lie, you simply need to align. Speak from where you have already arrived in consciousness. And if no one asks, all the better. Your assumption doesn't need outside validation, it simply needs consistency. That consistency is what sets the course of manifestation. You may feel alone in this at times, especially when others speak from the old version of you, or when the body tries to remind you of what was, but you are not alone. You are joined to the creative power of your own imagination, and that connection is the most intimate companionship you will ever know. You are not asking reality to change, you are instructing it. You are not watching to see what happens, you are commanding what must happen through silent inward conviction. Even in moments of weakness, do not abandon the new self. If your energy dips, let it dip within the context of your wholeness. If pain appears, acknowledge it without surrendering to it. If fear arises, look it in the face and walk forward anyway. The healed version of you does not require perfect conditions to express itself. It requires only loyalty. And as you remain loyal to that state, the body, the circumstances, the events, All will rearrange to reflect it. There is no need to wait for evidence. The world always lags behind the assumption. So begin now, not later, not after one more day of observation. Begin now, this moment, to move, breathe, think, and respond from the certainty that you already are who you wish to be. And keep going, even when it's quiet, even when it's hard, especially then, for it is in those moments that the old self dissolves and the new self is born, not through effort, but through faith, not through discipline, but through surrender to the unseen reality that you now call your home. You are not here to observe reality, you are here to shape it. The body you inhabit, the conditions you see, the experiences you live, each one is an outpicturing of the inner state you most consistently assume. When you step out of the waiting room of life and step into the identity of one who is already whole, you change the script entirely. No longer reacting, no longer hoping, no longer asking when. You simply become. You become the healed in thought, in movement, in speech, in sleep, and in stillness. There is no greater power than your awareness of being. And when that awareness is directed, not passively, but with deliberate intention, then what you are aware of must take form. Health is not something outside of you waiting to be found. It is within you, waiting to be assumed. The state exists now, timeless and unchanging. You are not creating it, you are entering it. This is not a practice for the weak or the wavering. It is a sacred act of faith that defies evidence, defies diagnosis, defies circumstance. And yet it is the most natural act in the world, for it is the true order of creation. You are not broken seeking repair. You are eternal consciousness, awakening to its authority. And in that awakening, the body remembers what it means to be whole. And let each moment affirm the truth. Let your posture declare it, your breath confirm it, your speech reinforce it. Let sleep carry you into deeper conviction. Let each gesture become an echo of the new self. You do not need to understand how or when or through what means the outer world will change. You need only know that it must, for the world is bound to obey the one who does not shift in imagination. So dwell not on the past, nor fear the present. Live now from the state you desire, and do not step out of it, not for the opinions of others, not for temporary discomfort, not even for the mirror that reflects the old. Walk forward in the invisible, knowing that you are already healed, and the world, ever faithful to your command, will make it so.